Listening to this podcast right now! Do you want to hear a fucking podcast about anything and everything? Yeah. Like movies, music, television, and more?
Oh my god.
Well, you've come to the right place.
Yes.
Subscribe to Journey into Comics Network, and you get Podcastrophe, hosted by me,
Yes.
Dick. Why not throw a couple bucks to the Patreon? It's your choice. Yeah. This is a Podcastrophe.
That sounds so awesome.
The following
Journey into Comics.
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 Journey into Comics
Network
production.
I think what would be a great trip is to Pisano's. I feel like if we got like a medium pizza, a large pasta, and then that cookie thing, we would split it. Where is it? No, it's in Chicago. But it's not Gino's East. It's not, Giordano's. It's like this place. But here's the deal, though. There's not as many. And the wait time when I went... Because we went Saturday night the last time. Because we were going to see those zoo lights. Our free zoo experience with $40 parking. Which I was like, well, guess what we're fucking never doing again? Going to the Chicago Zoo. But, yeah, the only thing that appealed to me was that it was winter, so I was wanting to see animals freeze their ass off, and also there was zoo lights. But anyway, yeah, no. I was like, Dad, we gotta go to Pisano's. This place, don't want to oversell it. It's orgasmic. But the thing was that, oh man, we go in there, and this woman was like, hi, welcome to Pisano's. What are we doing? And I'm like, okay. We would like to get a table for two, please. She's like, oh, sure. The wait time's only 2 hours, but did you want me to write your name down? I'm like, listen, I know you're from the city, so 2 hours seems like nothing. But no. So I'm like frantically, because my dad's like, okay, where are we going? And I was like frantically like Google mapping. I'm like, dude, down the street, a place that we don't have anymore in Champaign, because... Yeah, flat top. If you've just been to one of those stir fry where you just throw your own shit in a bowl and they chop it in front of you. Hibachi. That's nice. But, without the sit down, they do tricks because it's a Japanese restaurant. Yeah, if you've just been to one of those franchises, that's what flat top is. But it's so good. And we had it in Champaign, but we don't have it anymore. Now we have Hoo Hot, which is like the lesbian cousin of one of the Mongolian grills up here.
That's hilarious.
But flat top for free, you can add another stick because you can add like a yellow one for egg, a light blue one for shrimp, and then one of them was a beige stick for this super buttery, like fluffy pita pancake thing. And it was like, oh, that's cute, but I'm just gonna shotgun this and then eat my stir fry, and it was so worth it. The end.
That's a great story. Let me guess, you were recording that. Nate, why are you the worst? It's the second time in a row you've done that. And now I'm talking and I'm filled with pizza in my mouth.
Doesn't matter. It's not going to be used necessarily.
Hey, no, but that's why I said the end in the mic.
I mean, that could be a soundbite we use that we can throw in somewhere else. It's fine.
Did I ever tell you guys where I got that from? Whoa.
Your head.
So I was watching Law and Order SVU.
Wow, this took an interesting turn.
Well, I know, I don't usually, but
Pardon me.
There was this girl who had like one of those mental illnesses where, she couldn't quite get social cues because she was like in her own whole other world, And what happened was she was like 12. And of course, she's dressed like a Mennonite because like her family's like super strict and whatnot. But the thing of it is, it's like some like crazy shit was going down, which is why it was an SVU episode. And one of the things that happened was she was in the courtroom and they're like, Tiffany, can you please tell the court, because she's 12, so they talk to her like she's 5. Like, can you please tell the court what you heard? And she was like, okay. Listen here, bitch. She starts like Molly fucking Shannoning in front of everyone. She's like, listen here, bitch. She's like, you're not gonna tell anyone But I told you, or you're gonna fucking get it. I'm gonna kill your fucking daughter.
Oh my god.
The end. It's like, that's how I'm gonna end every fucking story from now on.
Oh my god.
I was like, you go, 12-year-old.
I don't think I could follow that up even if I tried.
No, that was very when Harry met Sally.
I'll have what she's having.
This is a tasty burger.
You ever tried shawarma? There's a shawarma joint about 2 blocks from here. I don't know what it is, but I want to try it.
Do you want some coffee, Mr. Tully?
Do I? Yes, have some. Yes, have some.
Is butter a carb? Will you stop eating?
We elves try to stick to the 4 main food groups. Candy, candy canes, candy corns, and syrup.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Foodies Watching Movies, Season 3, Episode 2. I am your host, Nate. Today, joining me, as always, co-founder of Foodies Watching Movies, the lovely Miss Veronica. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I just had my favorite pizza, so I'm doing better than I was earlier.
Oh, yeah? What kind of pizza was it?
House of Pizza.
It was delicious.
I haven't had it in a few weeks, so I was needing it today. My comfort food.
I totally vibe.
It's been a weekend of comfort foods.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Also joining us today, welcome back, 2 weeks in a row, Sarah. How you doing?
Hi, it's a miracle. Here I am.
It is. I'm glad to have you on the podcast.
Sarah.
Here I am.
How you doing?
Pizzaed up. And I ate a lot of treats today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in just 1 second, because joining us for the second time in the history of Foodies Watching Movies, Mr. Youhas comes north, goes north, Youhas goes north.
Yeah.
That's
it.
Mm-hmm. And welcome to the fold, Andrew Youhas. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Welcome back. Long time. We have you up here visiting.
Yes, very excited.
And we've been having lots of food adventures this weekend, as we usually do when you come to visit.
Yes.
What have you been making for us? What was our favorite thing that we've eaten this weekend? Probably my favorite was the Rice Krispie treats.
I was about to say, it looked like collectively it was the Rice Krispies.
The Rice Krispies went the fastest. I don't know if there's any left.
I don't know.
We
were snacking on it while we were watching that movie earlier today because we needed the comfort food because it was a painful movie to get through. We've got much to discuss today on Foodies.
Food and movies. Whoa.
Yeah.
Not just a clever title.
I think my vote is going to definitely be the Rice Krispie treat. Hands down. I mean, listen, everything that was made was delicious for different reasons, but that one really resonated with me.
Because it had Oreos in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us, how'd you make it? What's in it? What's going on with that recipe?
So I'm going to break it down real quick, but I would like to take a quick shout out to Sarah Van Lanningham because
that's me.
The fact, yes, because of the fact that I have cooked many things in my life, but Rice Krispies are my kryptonite, even though it is very easy to make, but it's not for me. So again, shout out to her because some of the things I'm about to say were based off her suggestions. So, it started off simple. I took the glass pan and I, buttered it, threw that in the fridge. And then the first thing that you do, because this is real simple, you just take a mixing bowl, a fairly sized mixing bowl, and you put the Rice Krispies that you would later on add. And then you would add I put in the end 22 mashed Oreos.
You counted them?
Well, because it was supposed to be 16. But okay.
Were you following a recipe from like the internet or something?
I was. Yes.
Tweaking.
Yeah. This is a
making
recipe.
It your own.
Yes. I do apologize. I forget what the name of the website was, but
I don't know.
That's okay. They're not all history majors like you and I were. We don't have to cite our sources for
this. but yeah, no, just whereas normally you would just throw the Rice Krispies in later in a mixing bowl, you just put the Rice Krispies. I put the recipe called for 16, but I felt ambitious and I put 21 Oreos in it, mashed, and then. And this will come up later. I put specifically 1.5 cups of marshmallows.
Excessive? I think not.
Right? Right. More marshmallows, more Oreos.
Yeah. So this bowl was set to the side for later. Mm-hmm. Right. This mixture of Rice Krispies and Oreos and what else? Oh yeah, marshmallows, mini marshmallows.
Yes.
Side note: did you just say the more the mallower? Mm-hmm. Oh my god, I love.
Whoa,
that.
I missed that.
Yeah,
nice.
It was good. It was really good. Had to acknowledge it.
I like that. I'm gonna steal it. It's mine now.
That's fine. You can have it. I got a million of them. I'm so punny.
Okay, so step 2 of your recipe.
So once you've got all the things set, the buttered pan and the mixture, then you start, your normal crispy adventure. You get the second.
It's always a great adventure.
Right, yeah. It was. You get the second pan. And then we put it on the stovetop, and we put in the butter and the 8 cups of marshmallows, because now we're starting to get the actual marshmallowy goo going.
Mm-hmm. You got to melt that down in the butter.
Mm-hmm. So we did that, and then once it got to like gooey perfection, much like that marshmallow fluff in the jar, but so much better because it's homemade. Mm-hmm. Once we got the goo perfect, then we dumped in the Krispies again like you normally would at this point. But it also has a crap ton of Oreos and more marshmallows. So, you're stirring it all together. And, of course, as Sarah pointed out, really make sure you scrape every inch of that marshmallow goo everywhere. Because it's just like, you got to... It doesn't look like there's enough at first, but... It
never does look like there's enough.
Yeah,
right?
That's a classic treat problem.
And even as I was dumping it into the pan, it still looked like I had messed up horrifically. Like there, nope,
not to me.
These were perfect, and yeah, that's just it. You once you get all of it stirred around, then you pour it into this, now, again buttered and chilled glass pan, and then you just put it back in the fridge, and we waited about 30 minutes. And the beautiful thing was that when you take it out, of course, there is an embarrassing amount of Oreos in there. But what was also a great surprise, if you've never had this style before, if you put in the marshmallow, like an extra cup or cup and a half marshmallows after the fact.
After the original marshmallows melted.
Exactly.
You add in
those
full marshmallows.
Yeah, they don't melt.
Exactly. And so the texture, like the whole thing was, glued together by the goo, but the extra marshmallows in the end, that
little
had not
pockets
melted.
of mellow.
Yeah.
That's the best. That was the best part.
Yep.
So that was pretty much it. But again, all of this was significantly improved upon by the suggestions of our resident crispy expert, Sarah. So thank you again for your help.
I am a crispy treat connoisseur, as it were.
We used to make a ton of them, remember?
Yeah, remember the apple pie ones?
Yeah, those caramel apple ones we made.
Oh, man.
That sounds good.
They were really good. We used Werther's caramels for that.
Yeah, and made like a sauce for the top.
You know what I want to do, though? I was thinking about it while you were talking about melting the marshmallows, because that's a great thing to think about. But I have all of these like different kinds of extracts and stuff that we could add to make flavored marshmallows, like yummy, good extracts. And then we could make like graham flavored marshmallows or lavender flavored marshmallows or pumpkin flavored marshmallows.
Well, 'tis the season for pumpkin.
Yeah, because I know how to make marshmallows. We can make our own.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's not hard.
Next time.
Next time on Foodies.
So
we make mallows.
To really quickly back up a little bit, you drove up on Thursday.
I did.
Man, it's been raining like a motherfucker since you've been here. You brought the rain.
I know. You're welcome.
You are almost the Rain Man in that regard.
Exactly.
It's a Dustin Hoffman.
Nobody else is almost the Rain Man.
It's just me. Is that what you were going to say there? I know.
Well,
I do know numbers.
Calls it like I sees it.
I guess so. But, you came up here with ambitious plans. You had several different things you wanted to make. We went to Potbelly, dude. Had you ever had Potbelly before?
That was the first
Oh,
time.
yeah.
And boy, what a great time that was.
Yeah, you need to review that mac and cheese.
Oh, yeah, we got it. That actually is great setup. Totally apropos.
Yes. So, yeah, we went in. And, of course, I was just thinking I was going to get my sandwich on. You know, I did. I got a chicken salad sandwich on the side. But something that's newer that Potbelly's is doing is they do this thing where for... I think it's like 3-something. Mm-hmm. You can get a side order of mac and cheese, and it comes with, in that 3-something charge, it comes with 2 premium ingredients. And of the, 6 or 7 that I saw, I chose bacon and blue cheese. Mm. Yeah, because it sounded really good. And even if this mac and cheese was at its basic, they put, actually, for what you're paying at a place like this, like they put actually a mound of whatever ingredient you choose. So I had a lot of bacon and a lot of blue cheese, and it was phenomenal.
I've only been to Potbelly's one time. I did not get to go because I had to work. But the one time that I did go was probably like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, and it was so bad. I had a terrible experience there that I never went back. But evidently it's changed in the years that it's been.
Yeah,
I'd be willing to try it because I love me a good mac and cheese.
Ooh, and that's just it. For twice the price, you can get like an entree of it. So it's like
nice.
Mm-hmm.
So we went there and ate. I tried their new like Jersey Joe sandwich. It's supposed to be like a Philly cheesesteak thing or whatever. Sarah, did you get the Mediterranean again?
Yeah, I always get that.
That's kind of your go-to
hippie stuff. Yeah.
I don't know if it's hippie stuff. I think it's
it has hummus on it. It's hippie food.
Okay,
Ooh,
sure.
Hummus.
It also has artichoke hearts.
Also hippie food.
Still delicious. I mean, artichoke dip is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
but
I like that.
We ate there, and then Youhas, you were like, when we go to the store, we were on our way to Meijer, I'm going to get something to make for Veronica, because she didn't get to go to Potbelly with us. Correct. I'm going to make her a mac and cheese. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. She really genuinely loves mac and cheese. And it was kind of in your brainwave because you had just had this phenomenal mac and cheese.
Correct, yes.
So we got to experience that. That was kind of the second thing of the things we've had this weekend. I guess, yeah, it was second. Take us through that process. Like, what is this mac and cheese? Where did you find it? I know you were telling us that it was like you've been making it for nearly 10 years. It might be the oldest recipe you've ever cooked. Yes.
So I actually know about this recipe much more because the Oreo Krispies was like something I found a month or two ago. But the mac and cheese, it's I found it between 8 to 10 years ago. It's been a while. It's the website's called Annie's Eats. She's made other stuff, not just mac and cheese. She also made desserts and sandwiches and other things you can make. But this one is Fontina mac and cheese. Fun fact, Fontina is this really, really good cheese that, it's, I don't want to call it fancy pants, but, fun fact, you don't have to go to your local, Whole Foods to get it. You can actually get it at Walmart, or if there's a Meijer near you, you can get the
Strax
cheese.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only thing I will mention is that this particular recipe, and I'll get into it in a little bit, it does call for 8 ounces of the Fontina. Typically, it comes in a package of a 5-ounce, like a little itty-bitty looking pizza wedge looking slice, and each one is going to roughly cost you about $4 to $5.
So this is an expensive mac and cheese.
It is.
I do like Fontina cheese. It's like kind of like a sharper Italian cheese. Mm-hmm. It's got good flavor to it.
Yeah, the consistency is good for melting as well. Mm-hmm. It's not. I don't want to say Velveeta, but it's got that kind of like that very smooth sort of thing going on with it. That kind of, and not super hard, but not super soft. Semi soft, if you will.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Whatever. Continue, please.
But yeah, so now that we've gotten that part out of the way, essentially all that you do, because really the bulk of what you're doing is clean up. What you do is you're supposed to take, well, first what you want to do is the prep work, like always. So you want to take a plate or bowl or whatever aside, and you want to cut up the fontina into these little kind of cheese cubes that you would see like on a platter or something. And then you want to take, it calls for 4, but if you want to add a little bit more noodles, 5, I would say, teaspoons, tablespoons. How do they measure it in eighths on the butter stick? Is it table or teaspoons?
It's tablespoons.
Tablespoons, okay. 4 to 5 tablespoons, depending on how many noodles you're doing, for which the recipe calls for a pound. So you can easily get a 2-pounder for $1.50 at the store.
Whoa.
And which is what I did. Yeah. And so you want to cut the cheese into little cubes, the fontina, and you want to cut your butter. We used salted sweet cream butter. And again, it was Meyer brand, so it was nothing expensive.
You need to talk about the butter. That's a very good, valid point. Compare your butters, because we have this other butter. I love this butter. You said you love this butter. It's the European cream butter from Land O'Lakes.
The Black Label butter.
Oh yeah, we've had that, right?
And here's the crazy thing, and actually this is based off a comment that Sarah made at the store. Okay, so I was buying the butter specifically really for like the multiple things that were being made this weekend. But because it wasn't something that was meant for me to just like kind of pick away at for like the next 2 to 3 weeks, I was like, you know what? Butter is butter as long as it's like good butter. I'm going to do store brand this time. So we saw salted Meyer brand butter, and it looked like it was already like the sweet cream kind. And what...
This conversation is reminding me of those Ina Garten memes about churn. She's like, if you don't have the time to churn your own butter from the cows that you've raised from birth, store-bought's fine.
I love it. I love those so much.
Barefoot Contessa jokes, they're the best.
But that's just it. Oh, so we get the butter, and I'm naturally, as I'm cooking, I'll take like the odd like spoon and kind of like quick taste test it. And I was just taken aback because here I am getting this, what is it, $7-8 Black Label, really fancy pants looking European Land O'Lakes butter, and this Meyer brand salted sweet cream butter for, what was it, $2.89, $3 something,
$2.69.
Yeah,
that's a good price for butter.
It was cheap, and that was I think it was regular price.
The price was right,
and
yeah.
I couldn't tell that much of a difference. So that was like a $5-6 difference for 4 sticks of butter in a box.
Well, now you know, and now in the future you can save money on butter.
And that's exactly what I said. I was like, wow, I'm going to
more,
reevaluate my life choices.
I think you looked at me at some point last night and you're like, by the way, doing that would save you $36 a year.
A year.
Yeah. Did you do the math?
I did.
Nice.
So
yeah.
Back to the Mac.
So what you do is, you don't want to melt the butter in this instance. We're not making Krispies anymore. You just want to chop it up into those tablespoon portions. Like I said, it calls for 4, but make it 5 if you're wanting to add a little more noodles. You put the cheese that you've now cubed, the fontina off to the side, the butter off to the side, and then what you can do is it calls for heavy cream, and then you put that in a bowl. It calls for a couple of cups of it, and then you warm it up, and then you just put that off to the side. And then once you've done all that, then the next thing that you want to do is pretty basic, actually. You just warm up the water. Now, remember, you're going to need a really big pot because you're cooking a pound of... it calls for, of course, elbow macaroni, but, I mean, it's a pound. So you want to have a lot of room in that pot. And when you put all that together, you start to boil the noodles. They're just like a minute or so shy of al dente. You dump it out, you strain it just like you're making mac and cheese. And then, as though you're making Kraft Blue Box or what have you, you've now got cream, the cheese, and the butter just waiting. First, you want to dump the cream and the butter in, just mix it around, coat the noodles, and then from there you dump in the cubed cheese. Of course, by doing that, instead of dumping in 2 wedges of cheese, it makes sure that it evenly gets distributed throughout the mac and also melts significantly faster, which is why you do this ahead of time.
Did you learn that lesson once? Did you just throw
the
the
first
fontina?
time? The first time, yeah.
And you're like, fuck, why is this not melting?
Yeah, because I was frantically like, oh, the noodles are still hot, because that's the point. You want to make sure that the cheese melts in the hot pasta, so I was like frantically chopping, and I didn't cut anything, but, it's on my body. But, it's just... I was like, holy shit, okay, good. But it was fine. It was fine. But here's the thing I want to stress about this dish. It's like one of those like self-fulfilling dishes, which is what I love so much about it. So then what you got to do is you take this whole mixture, this massive pot of noodles, cheese, butter, and cream, and you dump it into, again, similarly like a glass, pan that you...
like a 9x13 glass pan.
Exactly. That you're going to put in the oven, which should at this point be preheated to 400 degrees. Once you get the mixture in there and then you put it in the oven, you turn the timer. It calls for 20 minutes, but I actually recommend 22 because I just remembered I forgot something. Because this is a macaroni bake, what you want to do is get breadcrumbs. In this particular instance, because the thing of it is you get the cheese, but because it's kind of pricey, I always think to myself, if I would, word to the wise, I would probably go for 3 to make it cheesier. But for $5 a cheese, that ain't happening. But what I do with the breadcrumbs is, you lightly butter it. You do melt some butter. I take that back. You melt like 1 tablespoon of butter. You mix it in with some breadcrumbs. And then I mixed in a lot of oregano and some garlic sea salt. And then I mixed all of that together in a bowl, like a little cereal bowl. And then I just kind of evenly top the bake. The macaroni...
You're essentially creating a crunch layer.
Exactly. Now, one thing I will say is that the recipe also says you should mix in 1/4 cup of Parmesan into the breadcrumbs to, kind of give it that crispy top. I personally recommend, if you're going to buy Parmesan, like for this dish,
use the whole motherfucking bag.
And that's exactly what I did. And it was glorious. It smelled and looked like I made lasagna. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was like a noodle bake. It was like an Italian noodle bake. It was good. I liked the lots of oregano in it.
Right. But the thing of it is that, so now that you've got it in the oven, now that you've taken it out real quick, put the Parmesan and the breadcrumbs on, and you put it right back in. You've now got 22 minutes. That is like the perfect time to start cleaning that pot, cleaning the dishes you used to melt this, to warm that. And by the time it's done, you've gotten basically all the dishes done, except for, depending on
It's a good life hack.
Yeah. The only thing is that the pot, depending on how much cheese you did, you might need to let that kind of sit in water and soap. But
yeah.
And then it comes out and it smells very, very good.
It was very delicious. I loved that bake, mac and cheese bake. It was something that I definitely want to try my own take on. Like you fully explained it now, and I'm like, oh, I would add like Gouda and Havarti cheeses and
And that's just it. It's kind of like the Oreo Rice Krispies. It's like, it's a great
Choose
thing
your own
in its
adventure.
own. Exactly. But once you get into the hang of it, you start mixing and matching. And I did forget one thing. I do apologize. Because it's Fontina cheese, what the recipe calls for is a pinch of nutmeg to fully bring out the nodes of the cheese. Because I tell you right now, don't do what I did. Don't put too much nutmeg in, because then you've got a pumpkin pie macaroni and cheese.
Which doesn't sound bad. I mean,
right.
It sounds very festive for the fall. It is October after all.
But that is it, I promise. But yeah, no, just once you make it the first time, like, just run with it. Pick different cheeses, try different spices.
I think if I did it, if I made a bake like that on that level, because usually when I make homemade mac and cheese, I do baked mac and cheese, but I like using a little bit of Velveeta as like the base to give it that sharp tanginess. I put in like tons of different kinds of cheddar cheese, like a triple cheddar, and then some mustard and some garlic, salt, pepper, maybe a little splash of Worcestershire if I'm feeling frisky. But I think if I want to try and make a new mac, I'd probably want to use like a Vermont white cheddar, the Fontina, and maybe like a mozzarella with like cream cheese or something.
Oh man, I just got the idea. A BLT baked mac. it would work.
Ooh, with like roasted tomatoes or sun-dried tomatoes or something.
You do the lettuce at the end.
Maybe some bacon. No lettuce.
Yeah, lettuce at the end. Absolutely. You don't cook the lettuce. The lettuce is like an after. It's almost like adding a little bit of a salad with. I know it sounds weird, but
just put it on a lettuce leaf,
Can
and
it
then
just
we
be
won't eat
garnished?
the lettuce leaf.
Okay.
Serve it to me on a lettuce leaf.
Dino style.
Great plating option there.
And no forks or spoons. Only the leaf.
It's okay. I'm just trying to get the levels a little bit. That was a loud one. Okay. Back at it. Where are we going from here, guys? Do we want to discuss breakfast?
Do we want to discuss what?
Breakfast.
Oh, well, yeah, we're still talking about all the shit we ate this weekend.
Yeah.
Andrew was very sweet to cook us lots of yummy treats, and this morning we had pancakes.
Those are the biggest pancakes.
Yeah, what did we decide we were... I don't think we decided on what we were going to call them, did we? Because they were just like...
The word loaf was involved.
Yeah, and we rejected that idea immediately. That's awful. It's
funny to me.
What did you call them? Lumberjack cakes?
Yeah, because they're just massive. And they're meant to
Flapjacks.
fill the skillet.
Cake pan.
Yeah.
Cake pan, yeah.
What did they used to call them? There was an episode of The Three Stooges, and Curly was making pancakes, and what did he...
Flapjacks?
No. It wasn't hot cakes. It was like, maybe it was wheat cakes or something. Yeah, I think it was wheat cakes. But they looked gigantic and thick because he was making them in a cast iron skillet like that. Like one of those like Dutch style pancakes with like the apples and stuff.
Yeah.
That's that's like the thickness of that cake. Yeah, we had some thick ass pancakes this morning. My God, Sarah and I had to split ours.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just say that thinking about episode 1 of Foodies of this season, I'm still thinking about having warm apple cider. Like, that needs to happen.
Yeah.
It's time. It is that time of year. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
My aunt was at the apple orchard and brought me some pumpkin spice donuts and some apple cider donuts. But by the time I had gotten home later that day, all of the frosting had been absorbed into the donut, and it was just like the ghost of pumpkin spice. But it was still delicious.
The
and
LaCroix of pumpkin spice?
The LaCroix. Yeah, it just made me really want to go to the apple orchard and get them fresh and eat them hot. But it was really good. And then there's this other apple orchard. Or no, we went to the pumpkin patch for my kids' field trip, and we bought a package of donuts, and they were really greasy. I didn't like them. I don't know if I got a bad batch or what, but they were really greasy.
Not all about
I was disappointed and threw them away.
Oh, that bad, huh?
Yeah, because like the outside was like really crunchy, and then when you bit into it, you tasted like literal like oil from them frying them. Yeah, it wasn't the best. Wasn't the best.
But you know what wasn't nasty? Were those cake pans. It was pretty basic recipe, just extremely large portioned cake pan. And I added...
Is that what you're calling it? Cake pan?
Yeah, because it was like an entire pan. It was I don't know how to describe it. It was large and in charge.
I see.
I don't know.
He had his with peanut butter on it.
I saw that. Peanut butter and chocolate chips. I was motherfucking jealous.
You made Oreo ones as if you didn't have enough Oreos.
Yeah, but they were so good. Regardless.
Well, we had the whole thing of Oreos left
True
over
that.
from the Krispies.
Waste not, want not. We just had ours plain with an excessive amount of butter and maple syrup.
I did not add any butter.
I looked in the fridge and tried to find some like fruit, but I didn't see anything good that I wanted to put on it. I heard you had said something about strawberries on it, but
yeah,
we need to get some fruit.
Yeah, it's time for a grocery trip.
Okay, well, I think first of all, I want to say, Youhas, thanks for cooking for us.
Yeah, that was really nice of you. We love when you come up and visit.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Yeah, except I don't know if I want to thank you for the movie that we just watched.
Oh, lovely segue.
That was hard. Sarah and I were looking at each other like, oh my God.
Terrifying.
Oh, this is the scariest movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It is October, so we can call it a horror movie.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about this movie?
Yes, So, it's called Ingrid Goes West. I had actually seen it months and months ago, like early into this year. I think it either came out like in January, February of this year, or super late last year, and it stars Aubrey Plaza and Elizabeth Olsen.
Nate, you'll know her from Marvel movies.
Oh,
thanks.
Long story short, there's this girl, this woman who lives, I don't know what town she's from, but she follows people on Instagram, and she becomes obsessed with them, even if they're just local people. She just fixates on one person, and she becomes, a stalker who just her entire life revolves around this one person and everything they post on their Instagram. Well, things ensue. Actually, at the beginning, this is in the trailer, so I don't mind saying this, but basically in the beginning, she sees that the person that she's fixated on in her local community is getting married, and she gets so jealous that she goes right up to her and sprays...
Jealous that she wasn't invited to the wedding.
Mm-hmm. That she sprays bear mace into the bride's eyes in front of everybody during the reception, and then she, goes away.
And that starts the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the rest of it, she finds out about I believe it's called Instagram influencer, played by Elizabeth Olsen, who, she has, was it millions of followers?
She had like 276,000 followers, so she was like a burgeoning Instagram star or whatever, influencer.
She didn't have that blue check mark, though.
But she was very popular enough that Aubrey Plaza's character, Ingrid, sees her in a magazine, and she looks through her photos, falls in love, and hits the follow button, and then that just leads to this spiral of madness, leading her to going to LA to hunt her down. And it actually starts off with her stealing Elizabeth Olsen's character's dog, so that when they call for a lost dog, please find and call us. She can
answer the call.
Ingrid returns the dog, and they just become best friends. And the whole movie is just set on lies, and it's just pure madness, but it's also very real.
That was the most horrifying part of that movie, was how real it was.
Yep.
Especially in this day and age with social media and trying to promote your brands and trying to use the hashtags, #blessed, #perfect.
I always love that there are people that use #model life, even if they're not a model, and it's like, come on now.
Well, it just was really dark.
Yeah,
it was really dark and real, and the first thing I said was like, I think I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah, the whole movie, you're kind of, I think I said this to you, Youhas, you're constantly in that phase when when you watch a movie and you see something you're not sure if you really wanted to see, but you're kind of just like, I guess I have to go with it and see what happens next. Yeah,
it was like a train wreck. You can't look away.
Yeah, but the way it was presented was not in a train wrecky kind of a way. It was in a, like, you're watching a movie about like girls and millennials, and like it was like the way
it was a smart movie.
It was really smart, and you just, if you're not paying attention, you could watch that movie on the surface level and just walk away from it. But if you're anybody that's ever been online, like V was saying, trying to put yourself out there and all of that stuff, it becomes terrifying, because this girl is totally unassuming at first. I mean, just totally
There are weirdos out there that want to hurt you, and there's weirdos out there that don't have bad intentions, but are just maybe not the most sound people.
And they're so immersed in wanting to get an interaction with you, person to person. I think that's good to note that Aubrey Plaza, really the downward spiral of this movie is a response to an Instagram comment. Oh, next time you're in LA, you should totally try this restaurant. And she's like, right. Oh yeah, like.
And if the well, I don't know if to call her the other protagonist, the Elizabeth Olsen character, if she would never have responded initially to any of her fans. That was her whole thing. Well, I respond to my fan stuff, and her.
Right. I like to engage in social media. I like to participate in the conversation to expand my brand.
She has that conversation with her husband, who's an artist, who doesn't want to put themselves out there, doesn't want to put themselves out there, doesn't want to interact, for a variety of reasons, just likes his private space and whatnot. And
like the realest motherfucker in the movie.
And the whole time, you're meant to side with this woman who is got her Instagram account and she's nice to her fans, and that's literally all it is. And this woman takes that one response that this character says, "Oh yeah, you should try it next time you're out here." Like totally benign, casual
She just
response.
latched onto it,
and drives totally across the country and
just
does
to be
all
your
kinds
friend.
of terrible
just to
things.
try to be your friend.
But yeah, to not even, but in that weird like mirroring way, like she buys the same purses as her, tries to read the same books from the Instagram, people who are empty like that, they'll do things like that to try to fill up whatever's empty, and that's the scary part. You never know who's going to be the empty person.
Right, but I think part of the whole thing of that movie is that all of them are the empty people.
They are. That's the
every
sad,
single one of them.
Yeah, it's about a bunch of scumbags.
Dan is
in
the
a
realest
lot of ways.
motherfucker.
Dan is the realest one. Yeah,
Dan,
he's all right.
O'Shea Jackson, Ice Cube's son.
That was really fun seeing him in that because I kept thinking that I was seeing Ice Cube in the 90s,
Yeah.
and I was like, damn, where's J-Lo? Where's the Anaconda?
Yeah, but any of them could have had their sins exposed, as it were. The
every single
brother.
one of them was fake. Even
Right.
the husband, like he's saying, like going along with, oh yeah, this painting is $1,200,
and they're really popular.
And they're popular, but then later, you're my only person who's bought my shit.
Yeah,
and it's like
obviously
to say you're all fake.
That
you're in LA.
Yeah, that's the most real movie about Los Angeles that I think we've ever seen.
Yeah, and we were just recently in LA, so we were telling Andrew, we were just like, that was really real.
And I don't even mean that in a negative way, because it's brilliant the way that they did it. It's in an observational way, because that's how people, that's kind of how you have to operate sometimes.
Right.
When you're networking and you don't know people and you don't know their intentions and you don't know why they're giving you a business card and flashing a smile and all of that.
This movie was a warning.
It very much is for people who want to pursue that dream in 2018 or whenever they're listening to this podcast in the future. That's a warning. Watch Ingrid Goes West. Protect yourself. Seriously.
It was an interesting movie to watch based on the timing of what we have going on in our lives personally, like being musicians and just having recently been to LA and having similar experiences, meeting people like that. And
yeah, not super creepy. Like, we met nice people.
We met lots of nice people in LA, yeah.
But you just never know.
It was very LA. Everybody's, in the business. Everybody's doing like model, actress, musician / waitress thing, like
the mattress life.
The mattress life, yeah.
I don't know where that originated.
Eating In-N-Out burger after your samosas end up sucking.
Right, yeah, just something. It just tasted like LA. The whole thing, the whole movie, and it just uncomfortably
it was like a cautionary tale of what could happen if you're going to go down that path.
It's and it's also really like brilliant insight into the stalker type.
But,
because her thing wasn't to be like directly a stalker. Like Aubrey Plaza's character, I think, you kind of get a lot of things revealed in the movie. She talks about her mother's death. She loses her quote unquote only friend. Right after that, then you think about the beginning of the movie with Charlotte.
Yeah, the first woman that she latched onto that apparently wasn't even her friend.
Yeah,
she talked to her once.
Everything is lies about your main character.
And then, but
you know certain truths, so it makes you want to feel for them. But you're like, but you're not doing things right, girl.
You're going,
you're going about this the wrong way. You need some help. So it's hard to like want her to fail, but it's also hard for you to like want her to succeed too.
And the real messed up part is that's like, are we doing spoilers? Is that okay? Like for the end of this, since we're talking about this movie,
we're officially this deep in. Yeah, you can talk about I think
there's a moment near the end of the film where they basically they don't want to have an intervention with this girl, but she crashes a party that they're at, and she had already been like overly stalking them and had been.
They had already outed her and told her to stay away.
Yeah, there was a thing with her phone, and they figured out what she was up to and that she was a stalker and whatever. But she shows up like nothing happened, like, and they like, this girl like outs her and basically says to her what you just said, about how, it's, oh, that train caught me off guard.
Train of our existence.
The train. Yeah, makes you lose your train of thought. Ayo.
That's why I call it the train of our existence.
I know, right? It like honked, and I was like, train. There you are. Yeah, I actually did forget where I was going with that, but you were
talking about the intervention point, and Taylor saying something to Aubrey Plaza's character, and then Ingrid flips it on her, and I think calls.
I remember now. Yeah, because they basically tell her, "You need some help, girl. You're not doing it the right way. Whatever." And they send her off to the wind. That was a very poignant scene. But then it leads into the end of the movie, and what happens?
Which I knew was coming,
right? And what happens to this stalker girl is almost like the biggest slap in the face to everybody watching this film. Because you watch this girl, you don't want to feel for her, but you do, and you're just like, God, you just hate her because she's so awful to everybody. She lies to everybody.
Takes advantage of everybody.
You see her like crying in the bathroom or whatever, but
she doesn't have like evil intentions. She's just really fucked up.
Really messed up, right? But
she probably has Asperger's or something.
I don't know about all
that.
That
makes her like
have
social
trouble.
Cues.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's probably got something going on that she needs to have help with.
Correct. And I actually don't want to give away the actual end of what happens to her, but something happens that basically rewards her. Mm-hmm. The universe rewards her for all of her efforts at the end of this film. Mm-hmm. And it is like...
It was dark.
It is... but it's like brilliantly dark because here we are talking about it,
Right.
That's what art does.
Mm-hmm.
But, you talk about it on both sides of it, but it's like, oh my God, that's real. That's really what happens. The scumbags, they get ahead. Mm-hmm. I don't know why that happens, but it does. It happens a lot.
After we finished this movie, it made me feel like how I felt when I watched Black Swan for the first time. It had that like pit in my stomach feeling like
different kind of pit though. That was you could at least be a little less detached to Black Swan Natalie Portman. She was just off and
it just was deep end of the ether. Was unsettling.
It was very unsettling.
I feel like this movie is going to stick with me for a while.
It is. This is a Twin Peaks moment.
This is a Twin Peaks moment for sure.
This is an in real life. This happens.
Take note.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Brilliant movie though.
It was a very brilliant movie, and the cat. Like, I want to go back to the cast a little bit. There's not a ton of actors in this movie. Obviously, Aubrey Plaza, Elizabeth Olsen, Pom Klementieff. She played Mantis in Guardians 2. She was the Asian,
the fashion
designer.
That's why I recognized her.
Yeah. You just didn't see her with the antennas. So
she was wearing that shirt that said "Stalker" on it.
Yes, exactly. O'Shea Jackson, as we mentioned, I thought was great in this movie.
Yeah, he was the only decent character in this movie
because he's real, and I loved his love for Batman.
Yeah, that was endearing. That was good, and he was a real life person too. You meet so many people like that. Anyhow.
I feel like when we were in LA, we met a lot of people that could have been in that movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Whoa.
We met some really nice people, and then we met, there's a lot of interesting people out there. And it's just like a cautionary tale to everybody out there. Get off your fucking phones for a while. It's nice.
Yeah, if you live in LA, go visit your friends. Yeah. Find a reason to go visit each other because everybody out there is so isolated.
Yeah, everybody lives in their phones now in Instagram land and it's curated lives.
Yeah, there's so much like traffic and it's like so bad out there. People don't see each other very often.
Yeah, my sister lives out there and she's always telling me like, well, I wanted to go hang out with my friend and her kid, but they're like, an hour away you have to take the highway, the 101,
It's a mess.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah. The Californians.
Yeah, you get on like the 101 and take that down to like Wilshire and then down to Santa Monica.
If you see the In-N-Out burger, you've gone too far.
But then pull in and get me a burger and then come over.
But I need a 2x2 with the animal fries.
See, I love LA.
I do too.
I still want to live there. I miss the beach. I miss the sun. I miss the In-N-Out burger.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
we need to rate this movie.
How many pizza slices would you give it, Nate?
Oh man, honestly, I think it's a solid 4. It is a great commentary on society and what we are going through.
4 out of what?
4 out of 5.
Oh, I thought you were going to do it out of 10. I was like, what?
No. When have we don't do, we're unconventional in that way.
We've changed it all the time. You forgive my mistake.
I always think it's 5 pizza slices. We did discuss we were going to go to 8 pizza slices.
Whoa.
But I don't think, well, because, pizzas typically have 8 slices when they're cut into triangles. But
thank you for connecting the dots there for me.
I wanted to say that
for you. That just sounded like what America did to the metric system.
Sure, yeah, that's how we did it too. No, ultimately 4 out of 5 stars. I think it is a great social commentary. I think that Aubrey Plaza does a fantastic job of playing that character.
She's so weird.
Yeah.
And
I like her a lot.
But it's almost like how much of that movie was her acting? You know what I'm saying?
Probably not a lot.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. She's just naturally fucking weird. And it's like, what do you do if you stumble upon some Insta-famous person? How would you act? You got to almost
Right, because I have to point out, she didn't, hunt this woman down.
No.
She just saw her walking down the street in Venice after she had already looked her up and had, one little interaction with her on Instagram. And then she, was... oh my God, there she is. What am I going to do? Mm-hmm. And then she just inserted herself into this lady's life because she really wanted to be her friend. And then it just went way too far because she didn't have anybody else. And she clearly had some kind of mental illness.
Nobody to rein it in for her.
Yeah. Right.
She needed a handler.
I think.
Right. It's like the good and evil of the internet, this whole movie. From beginning, the bad, to the end, what the internet can be good for. It's a really interesting movie. I would recommend it. I would give it 4 out of 5 pizza slices as well.
Sarah?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm going to give it a 4.5, actually. I think it was... I haven't seen a lot of movies. Whenever we watch recent movies, there are a lot of superhero movies, a lot of
silly
blockbuster
comedies.
films or comedies, which I enjoy. But this was a movie that I feel people will talk about 10 years from now.
Almost like Memento.
I feel like this is one of those little sleeper films.
Movie for sure.
It is very poignant and very relevant story.
And cross-genre, because there was funny, there was thriller, there was single white female vibes, there was comedy, but
and it was just the characters were so subtly well written and well played. Right. And Aubrey Plaza, that's her name, right? Yeah, I'm very bad with names. But I appreciated her performance in this movie because she didn't just, you guys said she maybe played herself. We don't know her in real life. I've seen her on many interviews, and she's
you've seen the memes of her and the talk show clips of her being a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, but it's not just her doing that character like the Scott Pilgrim character, where she just sits and stares. I don't think, for as weird as the character is, I forgot that it was her playing it, even though she was still playing it out.
Yeah,
the whole time.
Well said,
I feel like she didn't. She's a Steve Buscemi in this case.
A great actor can transcend.
She's a Steve Buscemi. That needs to be an adjective.
Yeah, she's totally a Steve Buscemi because, as we know, Steve Buscemi can
do everything.
Morph any role. He's almost a chameleon in that.
He could have easily been typecasted in Billy Madison and totally written off the map. Just to be that weird guy that puts on the lipstick.
Right.
But he's not. He's
or the nerd
he's a fabulous
from The Big
actor.
Lebowski.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Yeah, that guy.
That wimp.
But he's got a broad range, so I think that was a good role for her to play to kind of deepen her weirdness and whatever. But it was
a smart career move, Aubrey. Good job.
Yeah, that was a lot to chew on. 4.5 pizza slices.
Lots to chew on.
It was a lot to chew on.
Yeah, that's my review.
How about you, Andrew? This was your pick, so I'm assuming you really liked this movie.
To follow your pizza scale, I would have originally, given it a 4.5 out of 5 pizza slices. Mm-hmm. Yes, slices as well. I, of course, typically, if I'm going to give something a perfect, it's got to be something that, I perhaps have just never seen before. It was just something that just struck me out of this world. But the thing of it is I thought this movie was pretty damn near perfect because I just love the little things, just observing the little things that make people tick. And this movie was just, the parts where she was being outlandish, when she was just obsessively stalking people and how awkward she was being, were just so I mean, it's in a way laughable, and I just thought it was so funny, and I just laugh. You just for the first half of the movie, you laugh a lot, or you just groan and just surmise what the rest of the movie is going to have.
I was squirming a lot, like,
oh
me
God. We were groaning because I was groaning from about 2 minutes into the film. I knew this girl was going to be something weird.
I had to get up and get a snack because I was like, oh my God, I need a Rice Krispie treat.
Yeah, we had to have comfort.
And actually, that is something I wanted to bring up. You know, of course, my takeaway from this movie was that, you know, the first half is just so funny because it's it's awkward humor. But the thing is, what I love about this movie also is, even if I've seen it now 5 times, but it's so well done that I love watching it each and every time. But specifically, I love watching it with people and seeing how their reactions are, because everyone's going to have a different reaction. So while I was laughing away, yes, Veronica and Sara were just like, oh, this isn't good. And something else I would like to point out that I actually thought added to my viewing experience this time, and I'll take it with me next time. Part of what I thought was also so funny wasn't just Ingrid. In my head, I've never been to LA. Never have. Not that I never would or never will. I just haven't. But this movie, just based off the perceptions I've seen in the television, in the social media, in movies in general, what I kind of gathered by people who live in LA and how they would operate and how they would communicate and act around each other, this movie just seemed to fit all the stereotypes that I had lined up in my head, and I found that so amusing. So, much to my somewhat surprise, but also amusement, that Veronica and Sara actually recognized truth to it all. It was like, no, that is actually an actual conversation that or scenario you would see or experience in LA, and that was just like, whoa. So this is real on another level, actually.
I think the first example of that is early on in the movie when Dan meets Ingrid, and he's like, do you like the place? Like, 'cause she's scoping out the place to live there.
He's the landlord.
And she's like, you're the landlord? And he's like, yeah, you got a problem with it? I'm also, boom, screenwriter, like, surprise.
Yeah, there was that. I think right before that, though, was also another great scene. So she goes to this, was it like a vegan or vegetarian?
The garden market
the
or whatever.
garden market,
Yeah.
because Elizabeth Olsen's character had just posted something about like
Instagrammed
avocado
it.
on toast. You know,
Yeah, she starts to go. Part of her stalking is going to the places she thinks this girl has been at recently.
And in fact, it's the very place in the comment that she says, "Next time you're in LA, you should go here." That started
so
the
she's
whole
like, okay,
thing.
well, I'll check this place out, and then maybe I'll post about it on Instagram. Maybe she'll see it.
Well, the whole start of the scene, though, is she goes in there, and the waiter comes up to her, and the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, "So what's your emotional damage," or what, or whatever.
What's your deepest emotional wound?
That's what it was.
Right.
And we're like, yep.
That's the question of
Been
the
to that
day. See, it's
restaurant.
on the board.
It's on the board.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I love that as her response. No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, they were probably making fun of some restaurant on Abbot Kinney in Venice Beach or something.
Yeah. Well, that's where it opens, right? That's where the whole thing's like set. It's like
Venice.
Venice, yeah. But
So we had 4.5.
Yes.
4.5.
yeah.
4 and 4, that's 8, that's 16, 17 divided by 4 is like a 4.25 is what we're going to average this out for Foodies. Those are pretty high marks.
Yeah, I would have given it up maybe a 4.5 if it didn't leave me feeling so yucky afterwards.
Because the validation she gets at the end of the movie, kind of.
Yeah, I just feel just the whole thing, because I've had to deal with mean people on the internet before, and I've had to deal with shit like crazy people. It's just like it can be scary out there, and sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I deliberately go out of my way to not watch things that can be too real for me, because I'm already like emotionally disaster, you know? And I'm just trying to keep things positive, and every once in a while I like watching movies like this to remind me that there are still good, intellectual, smart, clever movies being made that make me think. But my life is so crazy and like messed up that I just try to go for the happier stuff these days to distractify from the rest.
Yeah, but not many things can make you feel icky like that on a real level. That's what I hate. 'Cause I hate it. Oh, I'm like smiling while I say I hate it. 'Cause that's,
I love to hate it.
But that's art with the capital A. That's not craft. That's not little art with a little a, you know.
Speaking of art,
that's not art in a script letters, you know, with a period at the end. Like that is A-R-T with a capital A. When you draw a line like that and you make some people like squeamish and you make other people think and you make other people...
I mean, pointing out everything that people hate about themselves.
Yeah. I mean, that
vanity of it all.
Shining a light on that stuff without having to shine a light on it, you know, like you're a cop or something with a spotlight.
Right. It wasn't like an expose. It was just like, this is what's real. Here you go.
I know the characters were believable and it wasn't, you know, you said, Andrew, that it was based on a lot of stereotypes, like to you, but I don't think it really was. Like the Californians we were talking about, that SNL sketch, that's a lot of stereotypes, you know, that's a lot of the stereotypes, but this one, like, unless you have actually been and, you know, really hung out in Los Angeles and talked to different types of people and things, like, you know, it's not really a lot of stereotypes. A lot of things, it's an undercurrent, you know, that was picked up on.
It's an energy. It's a vibe.
Yeah, and not all in a negative way. You know, I don't mean that just about people being fake on the surface level or whatever, because not everybody's fake, you know.
Right. It's just everybody that I've met in LA is pursuing something different from what's providing their main source of income.
Right.
So it's all in the best possible way, and I say this with love. It really is fake it till you make it.
Right. Everybody leads a double life there.
And every single
and that's
triple.
why it was so hard to not hate. It's like I didn't want to hate the main character because I'm like, I see what she's doing. I get the motives. Like, she doesn't have bad intentions. Other people do this too. But it goes back to what Sarah and I were talking about earlier, is the scumbags are the ones who always win in this world.
I know.
In our lives, I mean, we both just had our debit cards stolen. Mine just got stolen yesterday, so I lost money that is now in dispute. Like, there are shitty fucking people actively trying to hurt you on a daily basis, you know? And life, to me, at this point, is just navigating through those waters and trying to get through it, because what else can I do? I can't be a victim. I can't complain. I can't, like, just
let the waters wash
let
over
it
you.
overwhelm me, because I will go crazy, you know?
Yeah.
One thing, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, it just comes down to, like, figuring out how to cope and what works for you. And this woman in this movie needed to figure out some coping mechanisms.
I don't think she ever will, though. I think that's the tragic end of this character. It was so Shakespearean in that way.
I know. Didn't I say? I was like, I feel like we're watching Othello.
Yeah, it was like modern Shakespeare. That's a good way to put it. That tragic ending, but
social commentary of the
it
day.
wasn't even, to some people that would watch it, they wouldn't see the tragedy in it. That's the surface level watch, you know? Mm-hmm. But like, now that I'm thinking about it, we haven't had time to let this movie cook.
Yeah, that's why we're doing it. That's why we're doing this podcast right now.
One thing I will say, it was interesting, is there were a couple loose ends that I wish they would have utilized better in the movie. Okay, early on, Elizabeth Olsen goes, "You look familiar. I know you from somewhere." And she's trying to piece it together where she knows Ingrid already from, which is that awkward interaction at the place. Once they out her, how that was not one of the things directly referenced, like, and I remember you from this exact moment. You were stalking me all the way back then.
But she got a makeover and got a new Instagram account.
And she's got too many followers. She doesn't act. That's the whole pointing out the fake thing.
She got catfished.
Yeah, this girl, fair point. Has too many followers to even bother with knowing what one follower is stalking her, because so many people could be. And she did figure it out. They did subtly reference that when they were in that club with the, you know, that she ended up getting kicked out of or whatever, the VIP section. And they were all talking about Ingrid before she walked up. Why were they talking about her, saying she's fake and this? They had already started to piece it together.
Right.
And they had pieced it together by the end of the movie.
About her having an imaginary boyfriend.
Yeah, before this guy even stole her phone. The whole motivation for that guy even looking and stealing her phone was because they had been talking about it already, you know?
It was killing him to not know.
Yeah. And then she wasn't on the list, although she said she was on the list.
Right. That all of it. So it is subtly referenced. It's just See, that would have been the direct spotlight. If they would have been, see, I knew this and I knew that. It's like that's like the high school call out that everybody would wait for, but they didn't do that.
Fair enough.
That's what's a little. Yeah, it's good. Anyways.
Okay, well, Sarah, I guess we're going to have you kind of lead this next part because you bought a book recently at Second and Charles.
Oh, I found a book yesterday, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I already grabbed it. Wow.
So we were at, I don't know if anybody knows what Second and Charles is. It is like what Borders and or Barnes & Noble, whatever remnants are left of those, would have been like in 2018. It's like
the disc replay of used books.
Yeah, but they've got all the toys and used everything
and records,
there, video
and
games, a whole vinyl section and instrument. It's like a Tumblr the store, if you will, one of those deals. But anyways, so they have used books there, and I always check the music and film sections when I'm there. Sometimes the video game strategy guides. But this book I found is called, I bought this for Veronica, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, with an introduction by Kevin Bacon. And this book was written by, allegedly, I'm assuming that there's internet resources for this, by the game's creators. So whoever created 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Which is one of my favorite movie games to play since its inception. On
the front here is a very 90s Kevin Bacon in sunglasses.
Well, yeah, you got to tell them the copyright of the book.
This book is copyrighted, since it's a used book, 1996. Which we're very pleased about.
22 years
all
old.
of the movie
we'll post
references.
Some pictures of this on Instagram. It's worth it.
Yes, this from what I'm told is going to be worked into being maybe a mini segment, maybe something. I don't know. This is Veronica's call because this is on her. I'm just a guest after all. But it says on the front, discover your BQ, Bacon IQ, and test yourself against the masters of the game.
The Baconators.
As of
the
course,
Baconators.
Current to 1996. So get your film history on if you're going to play this version of
interesting.
6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Anyways, I'm going to pass the book to Veronica.
I wonder when Hollow Man came out.
We haven't even had time really to peruse this book.
No, you just gave it to me today. I'm super pleased.
Yeah.
It's dedicated to Kevin Bacon and somebody named Pat White.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was super pleased. I love this game. It's super funny. I did not see that it has an introduction by Kevin Bacon. I was just too excited about the very 90s picture of him on the cover.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I need to look at it. But it's got all these great pictures. It also has all these really interesting charts and graphs of how you can link specific celebrities and entire celebrity families, such as the Baldwins, to Kevin Bacon from all different movies.
It actually has the Baldwin family tree.
It does.
Yeah.
And then it says it's got a filmography with all of his movies. First movie being Animal House, which was fantastic. One of my favorites. Oh, wow. And at the very beginning of this book, I know this is Foodies Watching Movies, but hold on, this is relevant.
It's relevant.
It has a list.
They credit Animal House as his first? I thought that Friday the 13th was his absolute first.
Well, if you'd let me finish.
Sorry, my fault.
They have an entire page that has his filmography starting from his very first movie and what date each movie was released, what year each movie was released. His first one was Animal House in 1978, and then Friday the 13th was his third movie in 1980.
Oh, wow, okay. So
this book spans 1978 through 1997, those years worth of Bacon films.
Wonderful.
Whoa.
There's nothing more Foodies Watching Movies than the name Kevin Bacon. Can I just say that
I
right
know.
now?
And you know what? Do you remember a few years ago we were driving past that farm, Fair Oaks Farm, and they were having the
Bacon Fest.
Bacon Fest, and they had Kevin Bacon's band playing there. And this place was
right.
like 20 minutes south of my house.
We had to miss it for something. We had a show or something.
I think we had a gig that day and we couldn't go.
I think it was.
I was so disappointed, and everybody in my town was talking about it. Like, oh my God, Kevin Bacon's gonna be there. Let's go see it.
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon's here. Do you know Kevin Bacon's here?
Okay, I just flipped open this book and it says "Bringing Home the Bacon" and it has a picture of Miss Piggy on it.
Wonderful. Oh,
the other kind of bacon.
Like what you talking
Open
about?
It up,
Miss Piggy.
Wow.
Go into it. What's that section about?
Let's see.
Do we need to mark these pages?
This book though is 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, and it's test yourself against the masters of the game. So basically they give you challenges and you have to try to link specific celebrities to Kevin Bacon. And this chapter is all just pig actors. Sort of a subset of the animal kingdom. Sort of a class in itself. So you have to connect Miss Piggy to Kevin Bacon. You have to connect Babe to Kevin Bacon.
Oh.
You have to connect the singing pigs from Mary Poppins to Kevin Bacon, and you have to connect Wilbur to Kevin Bacon.
Wow.
I feel like this should be like a challenge that we should offer to our listeners on Facebook.
We've got there's some creative work to be done here for sure.
Yeah, some of these other chapters include Super Bacon, where you have to connect Superman. Like for example, it says Superman was in Superman with Gene Hackman, who was in Mississippi Burning with Willem Dafoe, who was in Platoon with Johnny Depp, who was in Benny and June with Oliver Platt, who was in Flatliners with Kevin Bacon. And that's how you do it. That's how the game goes. It's pretty funny. Some of these other chapters are Driving Mr. Bacon, monsters not including those huge sandworms from Tremors, such as the example for that is The Fly is Jeff Goldblum, who was in The Big Chill with Kevin Costner. He played the dead guy. Who is in Brundlefly. He was in The Big Chill with Kevin Costner, who played the dead guy. Who was in JFK with Kevin Bacon. And then it gives you a whole list of other movie monsters you have to connect to Kevin Bacon, like the Gremlins, Godzilla, King Kong, the Loch Ness Monster, the Old Blob, and the New Blob. 2 separate categories. And Norm the Gnome.
That's great. That's great.
Dynamic duos. Like, this is the best fucking book anybody has ever given me. It's so
You're welcome.
funny, and I'm really pleased about it.
Maybe we should have a phone number that some people can call in when we're going to do a Foodies episode and have them test their bacon knowledge.
Maybe.
We'll brainstorm off air.
That way they can't use their fucking phones to Google it 2 seconds after we
Don't
post
tell
it
'em.
online. Well, it's just true. Come on, it's 2018. Who's not going to their fucking Google machine?
Ooh, this was another really funny one that I enjoyed looking at. It was Kevin's to Kevin.
Kevin to Kevin.
You have to
Kevin
connect
to
all the
Wow.
famous Kevins to Kevin Bacon. Like Kevin Costner was in JFK with Kevin Bacon. A direct link.
Direct link.
There must be some more Kevins out there, but these are the people who we could come up with. Give us a Kevin, we'll get him to Kevin. And then they listed Kevin Kline, Kevin Pollak, Kevin Spacey, Kevin Dillon. Don't know who Kevin Dillon is.
I don't know that one.
I don't care who that is.
I think Kevin Dillon.
Wow, it also has a whole section in this book that tells you the plots of the movies that Kevin Bacon was in and what year it came out.
Wonderful.
So it tells you everything you want to know about Kevin Bacon's filmography is right here in my hands, guys.
What would be a good month
I hold
of
the
bacon?
knowledge.
Because
A good bacon month? Probably May. Because, when I think of May, I think of, Memphis in May, and that's when I think about barbecue the most.
We're a legendary
Bacon.
hero named Kevin Bacon.
I don't know.
I don't know. When do we think about bacon? I guess it could be almost any time, really.
I think about bacon on the reg.
What about
I don't know
Easter?
What you mean.
Easter. People have ham on Easter.
Yeah,
Pigs,
sure.
bacon.
We can plan some kind of bacon fest for Easter.
I mean, there's lots of movies in there.
Maybe we'll call it the Bacon Bash.
I actually don't know if Foodies
And-
will even be on it during Easter.
Yeah,
but whatever.
we will definitely be.
We'll be back.
We'll still be going strong in season 3.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that was a really clever buy. I really appreciated it. It's pretty funny, and I'm looking forward to playing it in the future.
Same. Absolutely agree. Now, before we get out of here, Mr. Youhas, I prefaced this earlier, and I'm going to throw this softball to you yet again. Now, the last time you were on Foodies, I think that was episode 16 or 15 or something last year, and last season, you suggested Ingrid Goes West to us.
I did.
We have now fulfilled the prophecy. We watched the movie you suggested, and we've had an amazing podcast about it because of it. So I think it's only pertinent that you give us another
Homework
movie
assignment
that you think we should prepare to watch the next time you're here, or watch before the next time you're here, so then we can discuss.
Yes, and I'm glad that you prefaced this earlier because I had to really think about this one.
Yeah, it was one of those things I didn't want to just spring on you so you didn't get lost in the, oh shit, I can't think about it.
Sarah's cracking up over these pictures of Kevin Bacon.
I was just cracking up over the title of this game is called Bacon and Legs, and it's like Julia Roberts and I don't know who else. I'm just laughing to myself. Sorry.
All right, well, Andrew's going to suggest a movie to us, so
Oh, yeah.
let's see what he has to offer.
Well, I've gauged the floor on this before, but, so that the listeners can hear this, this is not going to be as thought-provoking or, depending on the viewer, scary or hilarious, depending on who you are. Mm-hmm. But another movie that, I kind of feel like might go underappreciated and is also kind of a unicorn, in and of itself, is actually a movie that's currently in theaters now, A Simple Favor.
Oh, yeah, you were telling us about this movie.
Starring Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively, which, no judgment on them, but they're just not my cup of tea. So the stars, weren't really drawing me in. It's an R-rated thriller, but it looked like nothing that I hadn't seen done.
It looked like a bad Lifetime movie based on the trailer.
Uh-huh.
But with way better clothes and bigger budget.
Mm-hmm. And as someone who's seen the movie, I can tell you right now, it gave me some serious Gone Girl vibes, which is, from a thriller, an R-rated thriller standpoint, a much better movie. But the only reason I went to go see this was because I come to find out, come review, like the review wave washing in, it is just as much of a thriller as it is a comedy. And in case you don't believe me, it is directed by Paul Feig.
Because I was going to say, I almost don't believe you based on watching Ingrid Goes West and how you tried to sell that movie to me. You were like, it's so funny. Oh my God, you're going to love it.
Horrifying.
And I was like, oh, I want to take a shower.
Yeah.
So forgive me for not believing your taste in comedies.
So I would just like to say real quick to everybody, one, I have an extraordinarily dark sense of humor. So
Correct.
While
I've seen your profile or your Facebook page.
So while, with Ingrid Goes West, I thought the horrific, elements of the movie were funny. The thing about A Simple Favor is that Paul Feig, who is known for his, comedic movies, he intentionally took what would have been a very basic thriller movie. In fact, if it had just stayed strictly a thriller, I would have given it like a 6 out of 10 on my own personal scale. Mm-hmm. But the thing of it is with this movie is that it is actually not about like the horrors of, how people are, and it's almost like too real. Like the whole movie, if you just look at the not even the trailer, you just look like at the promo, like the ads, like the pictures, the poster, it all looks so flashy and almost superficial. And let's just say if it was just a thriller, it would have been boring. But they intentionally, Paul Feig or whoever was writing this movie intentionally gave Anna Kendrick these really, really, really quirky lines. So I would once again evoke that it was awkward humor. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't awkward humor like, wow, it's disgusting, but to me it was hilarious. It was awkward humor much like you would see in like Workaholics or my fave, Broad City, mm-hmm. where they're just, it's not so much, oh my God, that's a terrible person. It's just surface level. Why would you say that? Like, why would people say that? Mm-hmm. There's no deep motive here. Like I said, the thriller portion is surface level. There's nothing, actually this whole movie is surface level. But because there's so many good lines, and then I would never thought I would ever say this, but Anna Kendrick steals the show. And then once it gets into its right, now you definitely don't believe me that this movie could possibly exist. Because like I said, that nothing about this seemed like it, would pique my interest. But it's like you just got to watch it. I don't know what else to say but to watch it. But Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively, they just start exchanging these hilarious lines. But the thing of it is it's not like I'm watching a cartoon. It's like I'm watching a Lifetime original movie, mm-hmm. but with some hilarious lines.
Okay.
But like I said, and the reviews across the board were phenomenal. Like
really?
People.
Because this movie, based on its trailer, looked like it was a big piece of shit.
Yeah. No, and that's what I'm saying. And I was waiting.
Gonna go to the tomatoer.
Watch, this is the part where the audience is turned against me and I'm just a big fat liar. But it's okay. I had pizza today, so whatever. But no, I was, again, nothing. I had no interest in watching this, but the reviews started coming in. And they're like, no, this is really good. And then I saw it when I found out it was actually just as much as a comedy as it was a thriller. And like I said, this is not going to be, and I promise that, as thought-provoking as Ingrid Goes West. Because, I mean, you could just unpack that movie for like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But this
So this is a surface-level movie.
But for what it's worth, and I would also like to point out to everybody, when it comes to fun movies, when it comes to the Marvel franchise, when it comes to Fast and Furious, when it comes to all those popcorn flicks that are just
blockbusters,
just completely overrun Hollywood at this point, I gotta say, I don't typically give my stamp of approval or whatever you want to call it on fun movies. This was a great fun movie.
Okay.
So,
well, I like fun most of the time.
And that's just it too. I would not classify Ingrid Goes West as fun.
No,
even
that was not fun. That was intense.
Basically, near the end of the movie, like close to the middle of the second act, even I start to feel like the dread, because it's like the cartoonishness of everybody kind of starts to simmer down, and it just starts getting
too real,
really awkward and very real.
Okay, I'm at the tomato or a simple favor.
Fingers crossed.
85% from the tomato meter.
Okay,
not bad.
With
That's
a
a
79% audience score. That is high marks on both sides of the table. In comparison,
It's not great, but for the type of movie it is, that's surprising.
Right, yeah.
I watched, I was scrolling on Facebook the other day and I saw an interview, like, it must have been like for a press junket for that movie, A Simple Favor. And it was Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick and some dude, I can't for the life of me think of who they were with. I think it was somebody from the movie. But they were trying to, they were playing a game where Blake Lively had to read tweets that were made and decipher whether they were from Anna Kendrick or her husband, Ryan Reynolds. And there were some really funny tweets. So it made me appreciate Anna Kendrick a little bit more. She's pretty funny, despite the fact that she bugs. She was pretty funny.
Comparatively speaking, Ingrid Goes West had an 85% on the tomato meter, identical to A Simple Favor, but only scored a 71% with audiences.
It's probably the squeamish feeling you got afterwards.
Maybe
that
the
some
movie is a
people
little
couldn't deal
too
with.
Well, but see, that's just it, though. I would just like to say this real quick. You know, even though I found it, I look at the whole movie in one way. Like we've mentioned several times, you know, each person can look at one movie totally differently. Even if it makes you squeamish, which I promise I didn't intend, but, you know, although I find the movie as, even though it gets really real near the end, I find it as entertainment. But even if it ends up being a film that's just, you know, thought-provoking and just real, and that's what a good film is.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. This wasn't a bad movie. This was a great film. This was a really interesting, clever, important movie.
And that's what I said too. I was like, I looked at Sara and Veronica as they were just like sliding into the chair, just like, this is just gross. Oh my god, this is nerve wracking.
It's not because we hated it. It was because we knew it was really a relatable movie, and it was really real.
A train wreck of reality.
Yeah, because it's like when you can see it and you're on the level or something, you know, like when you're above. I don't want to say above like the surface, but when you look deeper into things, it was an intense movie.
Yeah, and you got to remember, we're ladies. Like, that's how bitches are sometimes.
Yeah,
I hate to be
We've
cold.
met women like Ingrid before.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like,
There's
I
a lot of
know,
'em.
I currently know several women like that, you know, like that's why I try to just be as nice to people as I can and be as genuine with people as I can. And I try not to let shit affect me, like things that I see online or interactions I have, because honestly, I feel like if I just turned my phone off, none of it would even be real. You know,
Right.
It's all of these things are just happening in my phone, you know?
Right.
I mean, a lot of bad shit happens to me in real life, but in context of this movie, like,
you can't get your ass kicked by the Elite Four in Pokemon if you don't turn the cartridge on. right?
Yeah, what you said.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a movie I want to suggest before we get on here that is going to, by the time this actually releases, the movie will have been out for a couple days, but I guarantee you're going to have a reaction and know exactly what I'm talking about. I cannot wait to see Bad Times at the El Royale.
Yeah, that looks interesting.
I have seen trailers for that.
Jeff Bridges and Chris Hemsworth, Dakota Johnson, John Hamm are in the movie.
Is that a Tarantino movie?
No.
Because it looks like it should be.
It's Drew Goddard.
But it's not. Yeah.
The guy who did the first season of Daredevil, Drew Goddard.
That's interesting.
And the synopsis reads: 7 strangers, each with a secret to bury, meet at Lake Tahoe's El Royale, a rundown hotel with a dark past. Over the course of one fateful night, everyone will have a last shot at redemption before everything goes to hell. Jeff Bridges, Chris Hemsworth, John Hamm, Dakota Johnson, and Cynthia Erivo lead an all-star cast at Bad Times at the El Royale. Release is October 12th, which has already passed for those of you listening, and is a rated R.
I like hotel movies.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it has, from Tomato reviewers who have seen the film, 79%. So we'll see how it shakes out once everything's all said and done. Is there anything else anybody wanted to suggest or say they wanted to recommend?
Not me.
No?
Not me.
No.
All right, well, I think we should adjourn this episode of Foodies Watching Movies. As always, folks, you can check out Foodies Watching Movies at the Journey into Comics Network at journeyintocomics.com. Make sure to get us on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, and Spotify. All you got to do is search Journey into Comics Network. Subscribe there, get all the shows on our network. Lastly, you can go to patreon.com/Journey into Comics. Give us $1 for early access and exclusive content. Meaning as soon as this episode is edited, you guys are the first to hear it. Youhas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on again.
Dude, it was great to have you back. Sarah, it was great to have you 2 weeks in a row now.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking records, you're podcasting more.
I suppose so.
I like it. It's good. It's great. V, did you have anything else?
Nah, I'm good. This was I'm still like chewing on all this pizza. We left it here and I've just been snacking.
It's like staring us in the face.
It is my favorite.
Definitely. Hey, and you can't have I believe last season 2, episode 2 was a House of Pizza episode.
Maybe that'll just continue to be our tradition.
I guess that's our episode 2 tradition now. I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of Foodies Watching Movies. This is season 3, episode 2. A lot to chew on. I've been Nate.
I'm Veronica.
Sarah.
And Andrew.
And we will see you guys later. Eat fearless.